since 2005, I believe. And then I also have a cleaning business that I operate, that I take care of, and then I help my husband with our commercial lawn care service. So yes, I am a busy person, and yes, we do. We have lots to do. But as far as like our kitchen setups, Christina and I have two different kinds of kitchens. I have a traditional kitchen setup where I just have 4 basic kitchens like she does. She has 4 kitchens plus the commercial setup, which she's going into a little bit later. But I'm going to talk about my kitchens first. I would love to have the big lab that she has, but I do not. But I just have the 4 basic kitchens, which I have worked with my counselor to limit my kids in my foods classes to only 16 in a class. And so this is the first year since I've been teaching that I'm actually going to have 2 foods classes. So I'm going to get to service, you know, like 32 kids this year instead of just 16, because they're usually waiting in line to take class, because I do cook a lot. I'm not going to lie, I really do cook a lot. So that allows me to only have 4 kids per kitchen, which I love to do. My kitchens are color coded, red, yellow, blue, and green. And everything is when I say color coded, I mean everything is like red towels, blue towels, green towels, yellow towels, all the like the drawers and stuff, like these things right here, they all have a little piece of tape on them to indicate which kitchen they go to. There's no question as to what goes into what kitchen. All the cookware is also labeled with a little color code on the bottom of it, so that when cleanup time comes, you know, the intent is that you can get it in its place where it's supposed to be as well. Now, wait just one second. Sorry, I left it over in the other kitchen. I've also labeled, you can see this right here up, I also labeled all of my kitchen cabinets. So everything has a place. All the drawers have labels on them. The cabinet doors have labels on them, everything. So you know where your bake pans go, you know where the cookie sheets go, your pots and pans, everything. Mixers, graters, measuring cup, the liquid measuring cups, and it's spelled out, liquid measuring cups. You know, the dry measuring cups have a drawer and things like that. So I give them probably the first lab or 2 to get themselves. I usually have aides, and they're my checkers, so to speak, and they'll go through after I've had a lab. You know, when they come in, I'll say, go check the drawers, and they look for things all in the right place, you know, and then if it's not after the second lab, usually, you know, then they get points off. And I know somebody thinks I'm not very nice, but I take a little bit off for not putting your things up, because I give them plenty time to do that kind of thing. So let me see. I guess I'm kind of OCD when it comes to stuff like that, because I like everything. Like all my kitchens, like mine are shaped just like Christina's, but I have a flour bin and a sugar bin in each kitchen. All of mine have microwaves. They all have instructions. They all have little things lined up on there for them to. If you get kids in your lab, and I'm sure y'all know, you know, that are kind of green and don't have a clue what goes on, I have found that notes, reminders, and things are very helpful in just getting them, because I'm on an 8-period day, and in time they come in, I really only have 35 minutes in each foods class. And on lab days, that tends to be a little, you know, stressful, simply because my foods is before lunch, and what do they all want to do? They want to cut out early. If you're a senior, you want to leave your 5 minutes early and get into the lunch line. And so I have to deal with all of that kind of thing. As far as like my dishes, my cups and plates, they're all labeled. I have the same, I didn't buy different colors for that. Everybody has 8 white plates. Everybody has 8 bowls and all that kind of stuff. Everybody has the same kind of glasses, because this isn't another lab, but we do a big meal and we set a big table, so everything matches on our table when we do our meal setting and things. So that's why I went with that. Oh, another good thing that I did is I purchased knives that were it was a colored set. Like your chef knife was purple, you have a serrated knife, it might be green. I have a little knife that's yellow. Anyway, everybody has a set. So if you have 2 purple knives, you know you have somebody else's knife. So that's a great thing for my kids to pay attention to as well. I think I got those at Sam's. You've probably seen them, but they work great. When we have other little knives and things, but that's their basic knife set, and the fact that they're color coded, they can keep them in. There again, each one of them have their little blue, yellow, red, and thing on those kind of thing. So let's see. What else did I not cover? Oh, also in their kitchen labs, like their dish towels and stuff are color coded as well. I usually do all the laundry, like after lunch, I'll throw it in when they get through. And then on my first period prep, I'll get it dry or it's been dry. And I put it out onto a big table. So if it's not lab day, then my aides can go and fold up all the towels and put them in the drawers where they belong. But if it's lab day, I leave that for the kids. One of the kids has to come across and they have to find their stuff and they have to put it up in the drawers to it's to where it belongs. So how do I select my kitchen partners? Make sure I'm on the right page. Yeah. How do I select my kitchen kits? We all know that best friends in the kitchen do not work. They don't work. I've been there and done that, and I just won't do it anymore. They whine unbelievably at my classes about that. But I put their names on popsicle sticks. I make it a big day. We have, I'm like, okay, today's lab. You can see who your partner is. We put the popsicle sticks. Sometimes I have snacks. We have a little treat while I make the big deal of drawing out of who gets the red kitchen. And no, I don't draw out the first 4 for red. I'll draw 1 out for red, 1 out for blue. I've got someone on the board writing it up who gets to be what. We do a drum roll kind of thing, and they just like go crazy trying to figure out who they're going to have to cook with. And I always say I reserve the right to change you because, like if 2 people get in there that literally don't, because, this happens, like they can't get along, then I'll swap. And I still put them in a thing and I'll draw them around and then, not just say, okay, you got to go over here. I just still try to make it, the fair way to say who gets to go over here. And then I also tell them that I reserve the right to move you if you can't function properly in your group. Because, if you have best friends in there, they talk too much. Now, I don't allow any cell phones in my kitchens at all, period, in the statement. They have to stay on the desk. They'll say, I need a timer, and I say, your oven has the timer on it. You're not using your phones, because you look over there and someone's texting around, and so I just have a hard and fast rule. They're not allowed in there. And also on the same day that I give their assignments as to who gets what kitchen, and I keep them posted. So once we get our assignments, I make a little list, and then it goes up in the kitchen so I know who's in that kitchen. So when I'm grading, I can make my marks when I come along. Because after every lab, I do the white glove test. I go through like this. I feel for sugar, flour, anything if they haven't cleaned up. I look at their sinks. I look for that they've cleaned out their sinks, that they've done all the things that I've asked them to do, because I have a cleanup lab. Christina's got hers posted up here, but I have a check sheet, that you have to do. And then I also teach them about bleach. Don't get it on your clothes because you won't be wearing that anymore. But we go over our basic rules. Long-haired girls have to have a ponytail or messy bun, no exceptions. I have a whole drawer of ponytail holders that if you don't have yours, then you can get one of those out of there. Have to wear aprons at all time. Mine are stored back in the closet. They have to get them, and when they're done, they have to go in the washer, not left in your kitchen. We also talk about time management. That's the biggest thing, especially with me. With the time you get in, you put your books down, your chit chat, you get your apron, you put it on, 5 minutes, it's already gone. So, I have to emphasize, how important it is for us to get on our time and stay on a schedule so that we can get out by lunch kind of thing. Force play, not, you have to stay in your kitchen. If this is your area, that's not your area. You're only allowed out of your kitchen area if you have to go and get something that's not already put out into your kitchen, baking soda or baking powder, something of that. I also go along sanitary, like you're not allowed to lick the spoons. I mean, I have to say that 100,000 times, I think, during the whole course of it. No, you can't eat the beaters. No, you can't lick the spoons. And no, you can't eat what's out of the bowl. You know, we just don't do that. You can do it at your house, but you can't do it here. So now I'm going to let Christina talk about hers.
Okay. My name's Christina Loyd. This is year 21 for me, and I'm also a school bus driver. I have 3 kids. I have a son and 2 daughters. Victoria was a state officer last year, and my littlest one is a district officer this year. I have 2 grandbabies, 2 boys. I have a 3-year-old and a 2-month-old, and the 3-year-old, we call him a little tiny tornado, and the littlest one, he doesn't have personality yet, but he's just as cute as he can be. And I'm a Nana, and I thoroughly enjoy that. We also have a farm. We're way past farm, and my family, we show, and we have dairy goats, and we have market lambs and hogs, and you name it, we have it. And that's just our thing. We enjoy it. We spend a lot of time together. We've traveled a lot of roads, chasing a lot of ribbons, I guess. But I teach at Nemo Vista, and I teach food and nutrition. This year I'm going to teach culinary too. I've taught food production. I'm teaching that as well. I will teach the life, nutrition, and fitness. Thank God for Mary Smith. And one more. What's my other one?
Facts.
Oh, couldn't forget that one. So those are my classes that I teach. I am blessed that I get to cook quite a lot. In the past, we've gotten to, I didn't really know what my budget was. So as long as I kept the kids working, kept the kids cooking, I was good to go. Now, I don't know what we're going to do with the COVID. So that's why Vicki and I kind of picked some labs today that are going to be kind of easy to be individualized. So that'll be helpful for you. I hope helpful. In my kitchens, I'm blessed that I have 4 standard kitchens and 2 industrial kitchens in the back. I have a huge classroom, and then I have a huge sewing area as well. So I'm blessed with that. I try to do 4 kids per kitchen. Last year I had one class that had 28 kids, so it was a little cramped. This year I plan to do it, if our counselors tried to keep them 20 kids or below, and if they are below, I'll do 4 kids in each kitchen, unless there's less than that, and go to 3. If I have to have 20 kids in a kitchen, my plan is that we will do 10 cooking one day, 10 cooking the next. If we have to do social distancing, very, very stringent, if that becomes an issue. Everybody, when they come through the wall right here, my big rule is that my kids, they know when they come in, if it's lab day, they come in, they put their stuff down. They know to put their hair up immediately. Because I've harped on it so much that they're like, but they know to put their hair up, they know to take their jackets off, and leave it there. And then when they walk past this, the first thing that they have to do is they have to come and wash their hands, and they have to run hot soapy water. So that's when I say, what's the 3 rules? I know, they go, Miss Loyd, put my hair up, wash my hands, hot soapy water. And the one thing about the sinks is that I have learned, because we all have garbage disposals in there, and the kids want to put the water in the sink that doesn't have the garbage disposal in it. So my big thing is, the first week is that I train them that they have to put their sink water whichever side it is. So they may have to rearrange, normal washing, but they have to put their stopper in that side. And I have to teach them how to put the stopper in. Do you have trouble with that? Yeah. Yes. So, and they know they get 1 shot, and then the next time they better not come and ask me about the stopper, because they're all like, "Oh, what she did," So they get the stopper thing down pretty quick. The reason why that is if you train them to do that, when they pull that stopper out, and they run the garbage disposal, all that food will go down because, you know, kids don't want to mess with dishes. And that the dish thing is, I have dishes. I have dishwashers. I have 1, 2, 3, but they don't ever get to use it. Victoria had me for 4 years. I don't know if you ever got to use a dishwasher here. So they don't get to use the dishwashers, and this is the reason why. There's 2 reasons. One, if they use the dishwasher, those items won't get put back. Someone else will have to do it, and I'll show you that in just a minute why. And then number 2, a lot of kids don't know how to wash dishes by hand. My own kid, when she first started washing dishes, you know, we had to. I just assumed, you know. So a lot of kids don't know how to hand wash dishes, and I feel like if they don't know how to do that, that is one key essential thing. And then you have that 1 or 2 kids are like, I don't wash dishes, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. And so then when we go in the kitchen, I'm like, whoa, where are you going? And they're like, I'm going to do a lab. I'm like, no, you're not. Go sit down. If you don't do dishes, you don't get to eat. Well, then they change their mind real quick. So, on my drawers, what I do is I have a drawer and the labels there. And if it's 2 plastic spoons, they better have 2 plastic spoons. If it says 2 slotted spoons, they better. And I took the slotted spoon out for. There's 2 slotted, and then your ladles and things like that. They better have that in there. If for some reason they either break it or it's lost, I keep a sticky note at the end, and at the end of the day, they come and they write down what they have, or they tell me, you know, hey, I don't have this, and then I write it down. And sometimes it ends up at the back, or it ends up in my catering boxes, or so that way we can track it down or replace it. So that's one big thing. The cabinets are the same way. I have these listed, and they have to, and usually like when they're cooking, and I'll get into that later, they know I need to start looking and getting my stuff together because, and I'll talk to you about that in a little bit. My microwaves in each kitchen, I put the paper plates on top because that way they're not running. And we do use paper plates because we do our labs in one day because I'm lucky I don't have 8 periods. Also, I have this binder, and they put their recipes in it, and I'll talk about that too, but I just wanted to touch on that. I always keep the blender out, and the first week they're always like, Miss Loyd, why is there paper towels in there? And I always keep paper towels on everything that's plastic that's not being used because, and I always tell them, because it doesn't smell, and it takes the mildew out. And then they use that, and they go home and they try to do it there too. But I have this checklist here. They know they can go through that. And the first one says sweep the floor. So they have to sweep their floor before they leave. And I always leave a broom and a dustpan there. So they do that. Let me think. In the labs and all, when we talk about how we do our labs, but I do have this sheet that I give them. And it's a strict list of what they have to do before they get to eat. And I'll show you that a little bit later. I wish I had Vicki's system where everything was color coded, but with having 6 kitchens, and 2 of them have the industrial, I think that color coding, if you're able to do that's a phenomenal thing. That's a good thing to do. Also, one thing that I do, and I like it because I don't have kids moving as much, is I keep my gloves on all the corners. I keep gloves here, and I stocked up last year right before the big COVID thing, and I'm glad I did. Also, one thing I do keep in my kitchens is I keep their cutting boards under their waste buckets, and they know they're supposed to put their waste in there. I wish I had some kind of composting thing, but I don't. But I trained them, you know. In a restaurant setting, you'll have a waste bucket, and then they have that. So they'll have their gloves. And we have the same equipment in each kitchen. And how I assign kitchens is the first week, we always do a really simple lab, and it varies, whatever it might be, whatever I choose. And they get in their kitchens, and I don't say anything. I let them pick their 4 people when they get in their kitchens, and then I watch, see who can read the recipe, which kitchens do well, who ends up being the leader. And I don't say anything. Then they sit down, they go on with it. And then the next lab comes, and I say, well, Johnny and Sue and Bob and Bill, you're the leaders. So then I assign, okay, your next 3 people. So the leaders actually become the person that tells them what to do. I don't have to, luckily I've been blessed, and if I ever have to, I can go back and give them jobs. But what they have to do is the leader will say, okay, you're going to wash dishes today. You're going to go get the dry ingredients. You're going to go get this. You're going to go get that. We're all cooking this. We all clean up. And pretty much they know they're going to sink or swim. And they don't want to be the kitchen that is not finished enough to go sit down and eat. When we talk about the labs, I'll talk about how more I go over that. I talked about and I do that by 9 weeks. If something comes up and it doesn't work out, like I had to change one last year. I had my first fire. We were making fried potatoes and little paper towel for the draining. Got a little closer to the burner, and I'm in the back, and it happened to be my huge class, and I hear this, Miss Loyd, and I'm like, what? Because I know when they're doing cooking, they can't ask me questions. It has to be a very important question for you to ask me. Aww. And finally someone said, okay, there's a fire. So I ran over there and we got that taken care of. So I had to change that kitchen a little bit, but I have been blessed about that. So the leader kind of takes over. On horse playing, the first offense, they kind of get sat down to kind of nip that in the bud. And when you have big kids, they kind of like to go talk to someone else. But the next time, they know that this is their area. If they get out of this kitchen, they better be going to get something or have a purpose. And if they're out of their kitchen, I just yell out 10 points, and they get 10 points taken off each time. A lot of kids will tattle on the other kids because they'll say, this only 10 points, 10 points, and because they want to hear me screaming out 10 points. And so that kind of takes care of that for me. I also say no hoodies, no jackets. Last year I had a beautiful pink hoodie. A little girl had a beautiful pink hoodie on. It was an expensive pink hoodie, and we were making something that had red dye, and I can't remember what it was, but I turned around and she had a little spot down her. So I was like, oh. So after that, I was like, okay, no, because I was like, no hoodies, nothing. So they know they have to take those off. I have aprons and chef coats in the back that they can use, and they can bring their own aprons. Because usually at the beginning of the year, we make stuff for the fair. Some of them make their own aprons, so they can do that. And then the rest is how I do my lab. So do you want to go straight into a lab?
Yeah.
Okay. You want me to do my first one?
Yeah.
Okay. So today I'm going to do cheese. Oh, does anybody have any questions at this point? Maybe we could cover some questions if anybody wanted.
Gotten a few. Somebody said, asked, is it necessary to separate food in refrigerators? For example, in my kitchens, we have 4 refrigerators, and when I started, they were labeled for dairy, meats, veggies and fruits, and miscellaneous. Is there a reason for that?
They have 4 refrigerators, and
they had 4 refrigerators, which one, you're lucky you have 4 refrigerators.
Yeah. Exactly right. And that was probably set up by the teacher that was there previously, and that
I think that was.
That might be how they just know. I have an industrial refrigerator, and that's what the kids put their stuff in. That's the part that they can use. Now I have a baby refrigerator that's in my pantry. You'll see it later. And that's for anything that I do not want anyone to use. Like if I'm catering something for the week or doing a teacher's lunch and I have something I don't want a kid to sample. Because sometimes it has. Sometimes you leave for the day and you come back and you got a half a bag of chocolate chips missing. That goes in the baby refrigerator. And they know not to touch that. But no, I don't believe there's a reason why you would have to separate each refrigerator.
I only have one. I only have one refrigerator and a small one. But they will all go into mine in a little bit, but I don't separate mine out.
Yeah, and so she's really lucky she's got 4. But no, if you had 4 and you had 4 kitchens, I would separate
the grocery stuff out. I would do that.
Yeah. But that's up to whatever teacher.
Yeah, it's kind of a matter of like preference and space and that kind of thing. Somebody asked, and we had a little discussion on it on the chat, was do you lock your knives up for safety?
Theoretically,
yes, we do.
Theoretically, yes, we do. Yes, you should always lock your knives up. I have knife blocks, so I can take my knife blocks up and put them in my big pantry back there that does have a lock on it.
I don't have that luxury. I'll be honest, my kids are not allowed in my kitchens at all. Like any other classes can't wander in my kitchens. And 31 years and I've never had any trouble. But they're in one particular drawer and they're there. But like I said, kids aren't allowed in my kitchen. They can't go over there and get a drink during class like they'd like to. They can't. Now I may have to forego that, let them wash their hands a lot with the sanitizer this year. I mean, I don't know. But it's just the paper towels will be there and they'll wash their hands and back. And really, kids, like she said, I've been lucky. I don't have any. From time to time, you might have one that likes to test the waters a little bit, but they really don't. They're really not allowed in my kitchens. I have, like hers, when you have that line right here, I tell them on the front end, like, you're not allowed in here unless you ask and you have permission. Someone want to fill up their water bottle, which I say is okay. If they come in and they've been in art and they didn't have time to get the paint off their hands, then I'll let them wash that off and stuff like that. I don't have a lock on, to be honest.
Okay. All right. And we kind of discussed this in the chat too. How will social distancing affect the number of students in a lab? And from our standpoint here, we haven't received any guidance on that, but
I've already talked to my
local.
And our classes are going to be limited this year. Mine, I will end up having, the mandate will be this, for me, is that you must wear gloves at all times. You have to wear a mask. Now, you will not be punished if you do not want to wear a mask. You can have classroom time, but in this kitchen, you have to wear a mask. Also, they're going to put, you can show them, they're going to put like a clear shower curtain between, because I've measured it's 6 feet here, more than 6 feet, but it's 4 foot from here to there. So they're actually going to take one of those clear shower curtains and attach it to each kitchen. So that's social distancing. The labs like Vicki and I talked about was that we're trying to pick labs for you to use that you can separate, or they can do it assembly line, the easiest way that we know how. But it's like Vicki said, it's going to be a learning curve for everybody. We're going to have to monitor and adjust every day, and that's the best we can do.
Whereas some labs have taken us 2 days to do, or 1 day might have to stretch into 4 days. If I have 16 kids and I can only put 2 in each kitchen, so a 1 day lab will take 2 days, or a 2 day lab will take 4 days. So it may have to cut down on the number of labs that I have this year, which I hate that because I'm all about labs, and I'd rather teach them in the lab because I can hands-on. You learn a whole lot more than me standing up there telling you how to bake a cake and how do you do cookies. You learn by doing. That's just my philosophy. And I use a lot of my catering stuff in my kitchens as well, and we do some things, for the community and our school and stuff. I don't know near as much as she does, but we're getting there. We're branching out a little bit, but we do. So I don't know. We'll just have to see how that works up. I didn't realize she was doing that curtain idea. I might could do that between my kitchens, to separate them out as well. I might could hang one from the ceilings. I don't know.
Yeah, because you've got more open
I do.
space. Yeah.
I do have open, and I have 4 dining tables too. So that could serve as work areas as well.
Yeah.
When you're making the parfait thing that I'm making here in a little bit, they could go and put 1 on each end of the table and 2 in the kitchen. So I could utilize that as workspace as well.
Okay.
Okay.
The lab that I'm doing this morning is cheeseburger cups, and it's very, very simple. My former 2 principals ago, he loved them. So I always knew that, and they're so simple. They're so simple. But I always knew that when I wanted something, I could make some cheeseburger cups. I would send them over, and then, time it just right. And then I'd go, hey, can I have that? Sure. So, I kind of knew how to do that. This is a lab that kids can do at home. It's also one that, if you got the beef grant, this is something you could use, and it's really simple. It's really a play on,
so I don't forget it.
what's that thing? Sloppy Joes. Yeah, Sloppy Joes. You're supposed to get the little cheap can of biscuits, but I bought them yesterday and then I left them at home. So I had to send my kiddo over to the Dollar General. So, and I am really, really thankful for the Dollar General. So one thing that the kids do is they get their biscuit and they smush it out. And they just make a little cut like thing. And the big thing there is that they put it in their little, whatever this thing's called. Muffin pan. So you put it in there. And by the power of technology, I have ground my hamburger meat, preheated my oven, and I put my hamburger meat over here. Now, I did want to show you one thing that I preach to the kids about. Don't drain your grease in the sink. It drives me insane. It's not, but so they'd have to drain it in something. And one thing you can show them is you could even do a lab different types of ground beef and how much fat it goes. So they have to put it in a glass, and they don't always put it in the measuring cup. I just did it so you can see it. A glass dish so they can see, and they see the separation there. So that's a big thing. So you take your biscuits, and one thing about the glove wearing, and I have noticed, because my kids love Chopped and they love Pet Kitchen. What's another one? I can't remember.
America's Worst Cooks. Okay.
But they love to watch the cooking shows, and one thing, if they watch a cooking show, they have to write 2 paragraphs about what they learned. And yes, if you don't care, they'll watch those cooking shows, and they're like, "Hey, they don't have a glove on." And I know that in different cases you don't have to wear gloves, but they have to wear gloves, and because you just, one of the things that I'm going to cover one about my labs is that they have to prepare a little plate to give a teacher. So my thing is that they have to have it nice and clean. And these little cutting boards, I will tell you this, if you'll contact your extension office, I'm a big 4-H, Janet, you'll know this. I'm a huge extension office proponent, and I love 4-H, and our extension ladies at the extension office is one of your great resources. She came in and she actually did the glow germ lab. She had this really neat germ oven, and we did a cross-contamination. That's what it was. I'm losing my memory as I get older. But she gave me cutting boards. And, I have those big, nice cutting boards, and I keep those in the pantry. But these are great. And each kid can take one home. She left them for me. So if you're looking for resources, that's a good one. Okay. So I've got my muffins squashed in there. I've got my ground beef. I'm going to take a half a cup of ketchup.
I'm making cheeseburger.
Speaking of gloves, who eats at that pizza place by Sam's? What's it called? I just ate there last night.
Hideaway.
Hideaway Pizza. They have a picture when you walk in, because
when she said gloves, I think that every time I go in there. When you stand at the podium and it says how many, when you look at their big picture and they have all these pieces spread out, they have no gloves on, putting all the toppings on their pizza. Like, how could you post that? You need gloves on. Say it.
2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and we're going to show you how to teach them about that. 1 tablespoon of mustard. And this is exactly like a sloppy Joe, but I promise you it tastes so much better. So you put your mustard in there. And this also tells them that if you don't have a can of sloppy Joe mix or whatever, you can modify. 1.5 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce, and this is the best thing. You have to go through the whole thing about the kids. No, this is not a shot glass. This is a measuring thing, and they're 99 cents or 95 cents at Walmart. And I've bought a lot of these because sometimes they do break, but it is awesome because then you'll have a kid going, well, I don't know which one I use, and this is great. So 1.5 teaspoons. Put that in there. In the original recipe, it calls for Velveeta. I cook with Velveeta at home, and I make some pretty good Mexican chicken spaghetti, and I use it in that, and I use a lot of Velveeta. But I preach to them that Velveeta's not a cheese and blah blah blah. So I try to use when it's a process. So I try to use it with another type of real cheese when I'm able. Now they can use whatever kind of cheese at home, but so we mix all this up, and you spoon it into your muffin pan, and I tell them, you're not on a hamburger diet, so put it pretty good in there. But now it is going to puff up, so you have to get that nice little medium right way to do it. So. And this is a simple, when we talk about budget, this is a very, very simple budgeted meal that you could keep, until the beef prices went up. But you could use ground turkey. I have kids that can't eat certain meats, so I buy ground turkey. I have some vegetarians, so I buy the faux ground beef crumbles, so they don't have to brown it, but they can use that. So, and then I keep that stuff in my freezer in case I forget. I had some students that could not eat pork, so when they could not eat pork, I always make sure I have ground beef or ground chicken.
Okay.
So then after that, at this point, you would put a cube of Velveeta in there, but when I use Velveeta, they're like, "Just what you said, it's not cheese." I'm like, okay. So I try to just use whatever kind of cheese. I'd alternate to it. So then we put the cheese over it. And we are some cheese eating people at our house, so I like cheese. Another thing that when I do labs, one thing that I started doing was I don't buy margarine. I buy butter. Only because we go through the whole thing about how margarine's really not butter and blah, blah, blah. And at home, I buy butter. I buy margarine every once in a while, because you're on a budget. And, there was times that you couldn't afford butter, and that you just could afford butter. But I do the butter at school because a lot of kids didn't realize that there's a difference, and also they don't realize there's a difference in the flavor. So I've got that all done. And then I put that in the oven. And while Vicki's doing her lab, these will cook off. Oh, we're going to do measuring.
We'll measure while they cook.
I had something else to say, and I can't. Oh, one thing I did take off of Mary Smith. She does her taste test Tuesdays, or taste test. And I stole it from her, so thank God for her. We do taste tests, and one of the things that I do with our taste tests is that we compare different types of hard cheeses. And the kids really like that. So that's one thing that you could do. So now what are we doing, Vicki?
We're going back to dry measures apply this base. Okay. So any questions so far, Miss Amanda?
We haven't had not very many, just questions about the recipes since you started. But we know you're going to share all your resources later, so we'll take care of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and how are they going to hang the shower curtain?
The little black, what are those called?
Grommets.
It's one of those metal things that stick up, have a ring on them.
Binder clips.
Yes, because I do that for prom or homecoming.
Oh, yeah.
So I know that works. So that's how we're going to catch it.
That's how I
Okay.
would do it. I have the same kind of ceiling that she does. But I'm going to go look into that tomorrow.
Okay, so we're gonna do how we do measuring, and I'll be honest. Usually I demonstrate it before we do it. Vicki is better. She actually teaches them.
Yeah.
I take sometimes skills for granted. Yes, brown sugar. We got brown sugar. We've got. And what I do is I always have my dry goods separate. Now, she has them per kitchen, correct?
Yes, except for brown sugar and powdered sugar. But everybody in my kitchen has a canister, like a Tupperware canister. And they all have their own flour and sugar, so you don't have to go anywhere to get it. And then I always keep lots of staples in my kitchen. I keep plenty of brown sugar. I keep plenty of powdered sugar. I keep plenty of oil, plenty of Crisco. Now, I will say this. I don't buy a lot of off-brand when it comes to my flour and stuff like that. I only buy gold medal flour at my house, and that's all I use in my labs too. I mean, I've baked a lot of stuff, and I just don't like off-the-wall flour. So I buy nothing but gold medal flour. And then, the sugar's okay, but in the powdered sugar and then the brown sugar. But oil, I only use Crisco oil, kind of thing. And then I only use Crisco shortening. Now, if I have to buy, big things, I do use, some of the Great Value, but for the most part, I'm a big Crisco girl, and that's what I use. But I won't cut any corners on shortening. I will not buy any off-brand.
So for the ones that haven't actually taught how to measure. Yep, we got the cups. We're going to show you how to measure off your flour. I do my powdered sugar like this. I do my sugar like this. And usually when we're doing labs, when they measure off, they'll scrape off and it'll end up in this. But we all know that we're. I have my baking soda here and my brown sugar here. They buy me some brown sugar. But, we make a ton of cinnamon rolls. So I just found that this was a process that we could.
I wish I could do this, but I don't have.
And these are great. But I don't know, sometimes we do 20, 30 hands in a day. So we're just making some flour.
Now, when I teach how to measure, I do it two different ways. You know how they all want to go like this and pack it, scoop it like this and do this and pack it in. I teach the kids, and they have to measure it two different ways. One, they have to do it like this. They pack it in here, and then they level it off, and then they have to turn it in a bowl and actually scoop it in like you're supposed to do, lightly spoon it in, so I can make my point that it's more than 1 cup of flour. And if that's all your recipe needs is 1 cup of flour, and you've measured it like this, and you put it all down in there, packed it like this, you have more than 1 cup of flour. So in order to make, because they look at you like, whatever. But we measure it like this, and then my kids have to turn around and remeasure that, and usually it comes up with 1 1/4 cups of flour. And then I make my point, and then I just see, I told you. But, I show them, how you have to lightly spoon it in like this, let it get a mound on it. Everything is, I'm like, this is not a cup of flour. Yes, it is. No, it's not. This is a cup of flour.
You know, I teach them, you know, everything has to be leveled off. With sugar, you know, you can go over here and you can scoop it, the sugar like this. And they're like, what's the difference? I said, it's not packed. Sugar's just granular. You do it like this to get it on there. When we go to brown sugar, you know, I measure it the right way and the wrong way. I don't pack it one time and then I turn it over and then I pack it the next time so I can show them the difference. Like whenever you measure brown sugar out and you flip it into your bowl, it needs to keep its shape. If it doesn't keep its shape when you turn over, then you didn't measure it. You know, you didn't pack it. You know. So you can see them over there and they're using just
So
like
if they went like that and they just did like that, you see all the holes. And then if you show them, you know, you press that out, you know, I'm like, oh, can't be on a sugar diet either. My big thing is can't be on a butter diet. You know, we use a lot of butter. So we show them like that. The baking soda, I leave it in here. I don't know how I buy the big thing at Sam's, so I don't know how. Do you do individual?
We have individual ones that they use that they have to. But the big thing is that you have to teach them that everything has to be leveled off. And so I'm really big, and I watch. Kind of like Christina. You know, you have that leader in your kitchen. You know, that makes sure that everybody's doing it. I also teach my kids to never ever measure over your measuring bowl. When you're measuring if you need a teaspoon of salt, you know, measure it over my bowl of flour and everything else I have. I always teach them to measure it separately over the sink or over something else. So, because if you're going like this and you have to level off, you don't want all that extra in there. Same way with vanilla. When they're measuring vanilla, don't measure over your bowl, because if you don't have a steady hand, then bam, you have 2 teaspoons of vanilla in there instead of 1 teaspoon of vanilla. But they're pretty good to tell, like she said, they love to tell on kids. So they're pretty good to tell on them if they're measuring over the bowl, or they'll say, no, get over the sink kind of thing. But I'm real picky about that. I don't let my kids measure over their bowl of dry ingredients and stuff.
And with mine, they know to keep a measuring utensil they can pick up and spoon it into their items. Like, this is my powdered sugar. This is the cup that stays in here. And then they'll pick that up and actually spoon it into their cup that they're going to use. One tip I can give you on your brown sugar, I don't know, depending on what kind of lab or facility that you have. I buy a lot of brown sugar, so I keep it in a big thing. And I do 2 things. One, I keep it, and then you just, do that. One, I can keep it in the freezer, so it doesn't get stale and hard. The other thing is you take, and I learned this from my mother a long time ago. You put a piece of just plain white bread in your brown sugar. It never molds. It gets hard as a rock, but it keeps that moisture pulled out, and then it doesn't make your brown sugar ever get hard. And if you have a bag of brown sugar that is hard, you put it in a bowl, you put your piece of white bread in there, boom, you have brown sugar. That was a tip that my mom, she was a good cook. She didn't teach me that, but I remember her doing that. So.
Another thing at this point, you have to teach the kids between powdered sugar and granulated sugar. I've had many students mess up a recipe because it said you needed 1 cup of powdered sugar, or the recipe says 1 cup of confectionate sugar. And so rather than asking, but that's just kind of going a little ahead in the labs, your kids have to know exactly what to do before you hit the labs. And like her, you can't be asking me that question when the labs start. You should have already read your recipe. You should have already known all your steps, and you should have known the difference. So if you didn't know what powdered sugar or confectionate sugar was, all they saw was the word sugar. So they're making icing, and so you put 1.5 cups of this sugar in there. Well, they're just out of luck, and I don't let anybody start over. And that's one of the rules when we start. It's like, you have to learn to read your recipes. You have to pay attention. And if you mess it up, you better hope somebody's going to share with you, or you just have plain cake, because you can't make anything. I don't let anybody start over. Nobody starts over.
One thing I do, and I don't know how you do it, I keep all my spices in one cabinet. So they have not used, and I'll talk about that in labs. I just want to show you this while I'm thinking about it. How do you keep just by height and all like that. So in just one cabinet. You could do it individually, but I don't know, I guess I'm a control freak about it because I just don't want somebody touching things.
Well, we don't need four Italian seasonings. We don't need four
I open it one time.
little things to open at one time. So I just have mine in a general area, but it has to go back in the area. If you leave that on your counter, then like Miss Loyd says, points off, and when I do their evaluation sheet after each lab, if their countertops were dirty or anything, I know that on there and how many points I'm taking off. I'll give them their grade and then, I shave off the points. But I'm really, really particular about cleaning up your cabinets and everything being like it was. Your sinks have to be wiped down, your faucets have to be wiped down, no sugar residue, no flour residue or anything. I mean, that's how I'm at my house, and so that's how we are in my labs.
So you're gonna do your.
Yeah, we're fixing to do the parfaits.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it. When she's walking to her kitchen to start on her lab, I'm gonna show you one thing that's kind of saving grace for me that I have found out. My kids love to make pancakes. The first time they want to make pancakes, some kids have never got to have a griddle, so that's one thing that I teach them, their griddle. Luckily, I got a big commercial one over there, but each kitchen actually has their own griddle. But so we've done the pancakes and we do crepes, which has nothing to do with the egg one. But one thing I do keep all the time is I always keep a couple of just plain mixes, that you go to the store. Sometimes you walk by Walmart and like this one was one that Walmart had come out with like colored ones, and sometimes you just have to have a day that you just have to have a day in your life. So we created something, but I always keep pancake mix or waffle mix, and probably I think we'll do that lab. We do pancake art. Pancake art, yeah. I got my kids here. We do pancake art, and we put them in bottles, and they have so many different colors. Each kitchen has a certain number, and that's just it. And then they have to make something, and sometimes that saves you. So, and that's a cheap thing to do, and I always have syrup and always have pancake mix. And I have this. We cook at least 3 days out of the week. If it's we always do 2 labs a week. We do a taste test, and then usually we do teacher lunches. But we'll talk about that later. Vicki's got a great lab.
Okay, this is my parfait lab that I do. Now, like I said for y'all, I have 8 periods, so time you come in, basically I only have 35 minutes. And so most of my labs, it depends on my kids, but we pre-measure. I learned this, when I got back into facts. A little tip about me is like, I taught facts for 15 years, and then I went to the East lab for 10 years, and then I came back to the facts lab at Perryville. When Ella McGee, some of y'all might know her, she had to retire, and so they put me over into the facts thing. So I had to get in gear again here because I had been out of it for 10 years. But I found that pre-measuring everything, we measure everything and get all of our work things out one day, and then we do it the next day. But on this little lab, I have ramekins here that I use, that I brought to use. But at my school, I buy the little clear cups at Sam's where you buy, I don't know, 1,000 in a thing, those little serving cups, and that's what I give them to pre-measure their stuff out and mark it in their kitchens, kind of thing. So with these, what we would do is use your little knife skills on your kiwi, and each one. Well, if you want to cut some berries up, put them in a ramekin right here. So each one has their own little ramekins, and here again, when we prep for something, like for these, it's going to be, say this is Victoria doing this, hers is going to have her VL on each one of her little ramekins so that she'll know what she's going to put together for her parfait tomorrow. So I would probably cut a kiwi in half and give one to each child. Some may not say, ooh, I don't want my kiwi. That's okay. Somebody will eat it. Somebody will eat it for them, kind of thing. So I'll cut it up in little slices. I kind of dice mine up a little bit to put, and then it goes in their little ramekin. And then they're going to get their plastic wrap, and they're going to put over it,
and it's going to be VL on there. For the pineapple, I just got the Dole pineapple chunks and stuff just for quickness today, but I would probably use my catering thing, and I would cut up a fresh pineapple for them. A, it tastes better. B, I can show them how to cut up a pineapple, cut the core out of it, and how to make the little things, and it would taste 100% better. I would show them how to do that, and I would probably may have a fresh orange as well as to how to cut that up into slices, or I could have brought a fresh cantaloupe in to do as well. So they're going to get a couple of things of pineapple to cut up and put into their little parfait, their little ramekin. And I'll be the one doling these out so that they won't touch it, so to speak. I don't know, with everything being, I'm going to have to change my doings on a lot of things for labs this year. And then you take some grapes. Oh, look at those pretty little things over there. Then you take some grapes and I slice them to put in their little ramekin. And there again, they get to use the knives, their little knife skills, gloves as well. I too, like Christina, keep a lot of gloves in my things. And I probably would use fresh berries, but I knew I'd have some left over, so I just got some of these frozen ones to put in here to add. Because I like color. Because with my catering business, I tend to teach the kids a lot about presentation because it's like, 9/10 of the law. People are going to eat it if it looks good because people eat with their eyes, and that's what I teach my kids. So it's got to look good. After every lab, we do an evaluation on it, and the one thing I ask my kids is like, okay, would you serve this to anybody else? Would you, especially like on cookies, we do bar cookies, here's my question. Here's my ultimate question. Would you take that down to the teacher's lounge and put your name on it and serve it to the teachers? And some of them say, no, I would serve it to the trash can. Well, there you go. That says a lot for you to do. Okay, so then at this point, guys, because I know I did this in a hurry, but when you have 4 kids in a kitchen, this takes 30 minutes to get done. And so there's no way to assemble it, and there's no way. So at this point, all my kids are going to have them wrapped up. They're going to have their initials on them, and they're going over to the refrigerators, and they're going to put them in there for them to get out tomorrow. And so then when tomorrow comes, okay, Christina, can you get me my Greek yogurt? I forgot to get it. So when tomorrow comes, they're going to get these little cups to do, and then they're going to get their little granola measured out into their little cups. And I can agree, one for me, Christina and Victoria here. And you're going to put them some little granola in there, and then we're going to go with some yogurt. I'm not my people.
What you need me to do?
Then you're going to put some yogurt in the bottom. And this would probably already be pre-measured out as well into their little ramekin. So they all have to so it would all be ready. And then you just take and layer your fruit on top of this. And there, put you some grapes. Take you a few oranges over here. Put it in there and take the rest of your stuff. They love to eat these. And then, because they can take them they can take them out top with this and then put them a little spoon in and voila. And then they take it to lunch and everybody wants to know, are you selling these, Miss Harris? Nope, sorry, you had to be in foods class to get these. So these are great kids. And honestly, one might say I don't like pineapple, I like this. That's okay. I'll just give you an extra something else to make these. But these are great and they love them. Knife skills as well. Okay, I think
So what are we doing now?
showing them your muffins.
Oh, okay. So this is the finished product. Normally, and they smell great. Normally, you'll have your 12 here, and if I had 4 kids in here, they get 2, 3, or there'll be 2. So they end up having 4. What they end up having to do is at the end of every lab, and I monitor and adjust. Sometimes I'm like, oh, you can't take that to teacher. But they have to prepare something that they can take to a teacher. And usually they're like, sometimes the kids are like, oh, I got a low math grade. I'm taking mine to Miss So-and-so. Or I'm taking mine to Mr. So-and-so. Or, they have their favorite teacher that they just like to take things to. So that's one thing for quality control, because they don't want to take something to a teacher that the teacher's like, So that's one thing. And a lot of teachers are like, sometimes they'll say, hey, are you going to make this to the kids, So that's one thing. And you kind of like, you kind of like help for public relations. And I'll talk about how they get to distribute their stuff when we do talk about our labs too. So this is the hamburger cups. And then we're going to go over here. Do you want me to do my eggs in a basket? Yeah. Okay. Then we'll talk about how we care for a lab. Okay. So another simple lab that is very cheap. I try to do, things that are cheap. Because we do cook a lot, and these are basic ones. This is called eggs in a basket. Some people call it eggs in a hole. I'm not quite sure. And I really am, to be honest with you, I'm kind of embarrassed to cook this because when I cook it, and Victoria cooks it, Victoria always cooks it better than me. So sometimes when we're at home, like, hey, can you go make an egg in a basket? Because I like hers better. But like I said earlier, I always try to do the butter. And kids will catch you on it because sometimes we do a big, what's called the Beast Feast at Thanksgiving time, and we make a big huge feast for everybody. And the kids come in, and when I make it, green beans or the corn, or the kids are doing, we use margarine because it's cheaper. And the kids are like, why do we use margarine? I'm like, well, because it's cheaper, and FCCLA is paying for this, so use margarine. But in normal labs, we use this. One thing that is a saving tip for you is when they have to measure out the butter and melt it, teach them not to put it in the plastic measuring cup. And I keep this because I have to show them, don't do this because this is what's going to happen. And you're going to get butter everywhere. Use your glass measuring. And I had already measured this out and melted it, but then I think I already. So anyways, you need to melt you some butter. You need to start with your griddle, and I put it on medium. This is, you can use this in your egg unit. You can also, I'm kind of lucky. I have a big hatchery, or not hatchery, egg producing farm, and sometimes they're like, hey, I got a bunch of eggs or double yolkers. Do you want them? Yes, I do. So anyways, you get your sandwich bread and you teach them, this has to be clean, and I've already pre-done this, but you take your bread and you put it here, and they squash it. If you have a biscuit cutter, it works. Some kids don't have a biscuit cutter. You swirl it, and you come out looking like this. So if you're at home and you just want to tear it out, that's fine. So you take your pastry brush and you're going to butter both sides. And yes, you have to have your little cutting board here because it does get messy. And this is where you can teach your kids about the difference, and don't let, they're going to want to eat this. No, they can't eat it because they have to plate with it. They can eat it after they've plated. So you can teach them the difference between sunny side, over easy, over medium, and well. And I will say this, I do make exceptions on this lab. If they do not like runny eggs, and some kids just don't. My oldest kid, he likes scrambled eggs. I let them scramble it in a container and pour it in. And then they have to move the egg a little bit. That's the only pretty much exception. So you crack your egg. You've got your weigh station here, and that keeps people from, walking around to the trash can, and you only go one time. Now, if it's a paper product, they have to put it in the trash. They have to know to clean as you go. And since I have eggs, I'm gonna change my gloves. I like over easy eggs. Most of my family does, except my oldest one. My littlest one doesn't really care for eggs. But the only thing that they use salt and pepper to taste, however you want to do it. Some kids don't want any salt. Some kids do want salt. And I can just tell you, Victoria makes it better than I do. So it's kind of like a little pressure here. I tried to tell her to do it. She's like, no, I'm not supposed to be cooking. So if you don't like any kind of white, they can move their egg and back and forth and get that little bit of albumin out. That's up to them. But when you think it's ready,
I don't like any yolk in mine.
you don't like it. Okay, so if you do not like yolk, okay, so
I like it hard.
you like it hard, then you would crack your, and then see how it's all together. Oh, see, Victoria does make it better. So you got to put your little things here too. See, you let it cook for a minute. No, it's not ready. Now I like over easy, so mine's ready. I'm going to turn it, but it's not done because I told you at my house we're cheese eating people. What?
I was telling you I had cheese.
Oh yeah, see, so these are cooking. They're going to toast off. So then this is where you add your cheese. And again, you can use any kind of cheese. You could use American if you wanted. But we like this. So we're going to use, and I buy for my classroom, I buy the huge bags. At Sam's. So then you just sprinkle your cheese on. And if I had let that cook a little longer, the serving size for this is that they get two pieces, but they have to make the teacher one because teacher, at 11 o'clock. But now I'm telling you, it's pretty receptive. They kind of like that, so they make one extra for the teacher. And sometimes one teacher, I kind of go down the hallway. Coach Perry's gotten picked. Miss Cunningham's gotten picked. We just go down the list. And then, you do have some teachers that are on diets or doesn't eat eggs. You kind of learn that as you go on. So anyways, so you take your, and then this would be Vicki's but I'm just going to plate it just like this. And then they have to plate it. And then once their griddle is clean and I'll talk about that later, so I'm not going to jumpstart that one. And there you go. Any questions on the parfait or the hamburger cup? Well, let's go through the left, see if I had any questions yet.
Oh, yeah.
Any questions on the hamburger cups, parfait cups, or egg in the basket? No questions? Okay. All right. So, yeah.
Okay, we got a few questions.
Oh, sorry.
All right. How often do you make students change gloves or wash hands during a lab? Just concern about cross-contamination because dough is raw and they're working with other ingredients. So how often do you like stop and have your students say, everybody wash hands now, or everybody change gloves now, or what do you do?
Well, every kitchen will be at a different time frame because some kids will get in there, they're like meticulous, they know how to go through. So the big thing there is that the several weeks before you start cooking, go through your serve safe, go through your sanitation. They should know, and they know. Like for me, I'll be walking up and down the aisle like here, like I just make a trip back and forth, and they know. Oh, Ruppy over there, she's watching me. So they know, and especially like if us three were together and say I was the messy kid, she's going to tell me, hey, you got to go wash your hands, or hey, you got to go change your gloves. And with my labs, I have that leader, so they kind of like take over teacher role, and she or he is telling the kids, you got to do this. And it's usually a kid that's had me before, like had me in foods or had me in, they've had me before, so they kind of know how I do and how I want.
But my rule is if, with your hair up, if you touch any part of your hair, then you have to go wash your hands again. Or if you use your glove and you touched your hair, then you have to go, or if you go like this, then you have to go and change your gloves. I mean, if you walk out of your kitchen to go over and get something or look at something else, then you have to, when you come back in your kitchen, you have to wash your hands again. Or if you had gloves on, those gloves come off and you put another. Those are just rules that we go over. And like Christina, you got the leader, you have someone that's like, hey, they're quick to tell them, what to do. And plus I'm watching. If I'm sitting over here and you walk out of the kitchen area for any reason, first of all, I'm going to question and ask you why you're out of your kitchen and what are you doing? And then, and then I'll watch and I may say to a friend of mine, you need to switch your gloves or don't forget to wash your hands before you get back in your kitchen. So like Christina said, by the second, third, fourth lab, they've got it, they've got it down as to what they're supposed to do.
Okay. A couple of questions about, does everyone in the group receive the same grade?
No, ma'am. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know how she does it.
Yeah, mine does, but when we go through our lab, I'll tell you how I do my grades. When we go through how we do our lab.
My kids on my sheet, that I have, it has the 4 names, the 4 people that are in there, or 3 people, whatever, are in there. And I have had, every year, I've had a slacker who thinks that the only thing they can do in their lab is wash the dishes and eat when it's over with. And so, no, they don't get the same grade. And my leader is supposed to get them, and they'll tell Miss Harris, that's all they've done is wash dishes. And then, we have to have our little meeting over there, like, hey, this is all you're going to do is wash the dishes. You can't, and there's no way they're going to get an A in my class. I just won't do that. But, and I have had one from time to time that's like, well, I can't do anything. I'm not comfortable. I don't like the people I do with. I've already moved them in 2 different labs. And so I just like, okay, you can wash the dishes, but there's no way you're ever going to get an A, and it takes off. And like I said, if you force played or you haven't done anything, or sometimes if you miss a day on my lab, you've got to make that up. I try to give my kids plenty of notice when we're going to have labs, and I just flat out say, if you got a dentist appointment that day, you need to tell me. I need to be prepared, and then they have to do a makeup in paper form. They can't, if they miss this egg in a basket lab, they just missed it because there's no way. I don't let them make it up. You just have to do a paper report for me on something, and I'll give you a topic, and then you have to turn it into paper because I'm not going to get into doing makeup labs.
On my, and I'll just go on and are we going to do labs later?
Yeah, no, we have. Go ahead. We just go ahead and start that.
On my labs, I have a sheet, and each kitchen gets one. They put their name and they put all the names of that kitchen. And I always number my kitchens 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they put their kitchen number up there. They put their period. And they have to go through every single one of these. Okay, so there's a total point of 100. And they need to write down what they think they should get out of 10 points and what I give them out of 10 points. Now, sometimes, even at home, like sometimes when you're cooking stuff, you get it out and you're like, oh, like my husband's not very picky, so he'll eat anything unless I say, oh, don't eat that. If that happens in a lab because it was just something minor and theirs doesn't turn out as well as someone else's, I don't dock them on the recipe part of it. Now, if someone plainly does not follow the recipe, what happens is they get their say the chocolate chip cookies, and they've melted their butter instead of softened the butter, and it comes out and they've got a chocolate chip pancake. That's what you got. I'm sorry. I'm not going to dock you on the points because your points are, from here, your cleanliness. You just at the mercy of maybe if Sue over here has an extra cookie, she's going to share. And my kids are pretty good because we have so many kitchens that they have extras and then they'll share. But that's how they get their grade, is that they have to go through this. If there's horse playing going on and I say 10 points, like say it was Kristen in this kitchen and she was horse playing and everybody else is going to get 100, and I said, Kristen, you got 10 points, they automatically know that their grade just went down 10 points. So that's how they will end up with a docking, either as a group not making sure this is finished, or horse playing, or stepping out of your kitchen, or getting in your kitchen. If you're in the kitchen and you hadn't put your hair up, it's 10 points. They know that's my like, ugh. So they know that that's my pet peeve, and they know before they do it. Also on the lab, they cannot eat anything until they're done. And they have their sheet over here ready for me to grade it. And I'm like, are you ready? And sometimes I have to go in there because you do have kitchens that are like, oh, you didn't drain your sink, or you didn't do this, or you got to go back and do that. But you kind of monitor and adjust for that. You know, the washing the hands things, this is thing that they all get the black and white copy at the beginning. That goes in each kitchen. So they know we go through the serve safe and we go through all that. So other than that, any other questions?
I think you said y'all were gonna go over your lab sheets a little bit later and like how you do points and stuff, and you just did a little bit of it.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah, that was another thing I think we had a question about.
Okay. We're going to do equipment, how we teach equipment.
Not electrical appliances. This
No.
is just.
Yeah, we're just going to do what you
Audio
use.
will not mute.
We'll do appliances on the next time, different labs that we can use. But the first, we kind of do some similar things. One thing that I love is Kahoot. They have, they can log in, they have different, it'll come up, it has a slot spoon, they'll say, so we use that, we do Quizlets. Two things that I do, three things, is the same version, but different ways. Okay, so they all know their kitchens. One thing is a scavenger hunt. They'll come in, they sit down, and they can't run around, but they can scurry back, but they cannot get anything out of anybody else's kitchen. So I give them a list. I'll write it down and have it for them, or I'll say somebody better get a piece of paper, and usually I do that. Get a piece of paper, write down 10 items. And they have to go and find it, and they have to lay it out. So that's one way. And then, I try to do like a little game, oh, I got it first. And sometimes you'll go in there and they've got it laid out, and I'm like, what is that? Like sometimes, what's one thing that they miss usually? I think a colander, colander and strainer. They've missed those.
And
So
pastry blender.
Pastry blender.
Yes.
So the other thing that I do is I put out items and I'll put the numbers, and they have to bring in a piece of paper and they write down what the items are. And another thing is that I'll come in and I'll have what they need on the sticky note, and then they have to put the item there. Vicki does it.
I do it a little, I kind of do like what to see what, I'll have a variety of things out, and things that they don't commonly use. Because like Chrissy said, they don't know that this is called a wire whisk, what it's for. Or especially this, the old-fashioned potato smasher. They don't, they'll say, oh, that's what you do your strawberries with. Okay. And then, like the pastry blender down there. I kind of see what they know and make it like a fun game, who can guess this and kind of thing. And then, we go over, because like when we learn to read recipes, when it says, I'm very big on when it says fold in or stir in, that does not mean to use your mixer. I stress that like unbelievably, especially when it says fold in your nuts or stir in, this. We go. And a lot of times, when we're first starting out, I make the kids look at their recipe. Kind of jumping the gun here, but I make the kids look at their recipe because like Christina,
you better know what you need when you hit your labs, because you're really not allowed to ask me questions on the planning day. And what we're going to do, that's when you read the recipe to and decipher, do you really know what you're doing? Like, what is the difference between sugar and confectionate sugar? And that's where most of my kids have not asked me now, what kind of sugar is this? Or all they see is that magic word sugar, and all they know is like sugar, you know, not the kind you're supposed to use. And so and I have had them make notes on their recipe, use a spoon, use a spatula, you know, to jar their memory so that they don't use that mixer. Because when they get that mixer out, I mean, they just want to mix everything there is, you know, to go.
And sometimes when I'm doing a lab, we've done like first period, say we do that lab, and I'm like, oh, that yields too much. So they'll come in the next time. I'm like, okay, we're going to cut it in half. And so they have the recipe. When they come in, I always have the recipe at the table, and it's their responsibility. They get their own recipe. Usually I have it hole punched, and this is my kids, my youngest one's notebook. So it's a kid's student work, but I don't take papers. I don't take papers up. You better keep it in your notebook. And when I get ready to grade it, I will grade it. So, like we do our taste test Tuesday, and then we have dividers, but they also have to have a divider. Now, this is their cookbook, but recipes in class, and I just pull them out. But like we do peanut butter cookies, or when we did the craters. So Alfred's. And they have to keep it in there. And I know how many labs we've had, so each one is 10 points. And I do all year long. You can't throw it away. So if I look in there and I know you should have 12 recipes, that's 120 points. You better have your 12 recipes. Don't ask me for them. Get them from your friend. They just know to do that. And then they also have the recipes on top of the microwave that they put an extra one in there. So if they've lost them, they know to get them. On lab, the only papers that I do keep are the lab sheets, and they leave them here. And so by the end of the day, I might have 4 or 5 of these to grade. And then, because I don't give everyone back, I just give them their grade and go on with it. Other than that, on labs, trying to think what else I haven't.
Hey, what I wanted to go over with is like how I prep for my labs. Now, I pretty much pick all the recipes for the kids. You know, they just, you know, we'll do the chocolate chip cookies. We do the no-bake cookies. You know, we do the pie recipes. Now, I will give them an option when we learn to do our pie crust. You know, I'll say, we're going to make 1 crust pies today, and we're going to do, you know, we might make, this kitchen might make a pecan pie. This kitchen might make, you know, a chocolate pie or something. I'm not, you know, but I'll give them a little bit of choice on that, but not very much. You know, I don't give them very much, because if you give them too many options, you know, they argue and kind of thing. So, but if I have someone allergic to nuts or peanut butter or something like that, then no, we won't be doing that one. But for those labs, like I said, I keep all the staple stuff in my lab. So if we're going to do a pie lab, I'll only have to buy the base, you know, the ingredients that I need to go with it. So when it is lab day, I have their recipes already printed out for them. In my kitchens, they're taped on their door. When they get here, you know, I have their recipe taped up here. And like I said, it's a 2-day process. So the first day, for example, oatmeal, no-bake cookies. They have to have everything pre-measured out, like I did these in these little ramekins. They have to have their oatmeal out, their peanut butter out, their vanilla's in there. Their butter is cut that they need, that's in the refrigerator. And then their pots out that they're going to need, because you know how long it takes to find a pot, a very long time. You know, they'll ask you that 10 times. So ask me on the front end. So when they come in on the next day, it's like you come in, you put your junk down, you go get your apron, your hair goes up, you go in, you wash your hands, and then you start. And then in 35 minutes, they may or may not have their cookies done and on a, you know, on their full thing to do. But the only time I give them really choices to make is when we do our meal planning. And I think that's for another lab that we're going to talk about our meals, and because I take my grocery shopping, and I'll explain all that, how we do that. But with 4 kitchens, you know, they're going to label it red, yellow, blue. And then since I'm going to have 2 classes next year, you know, it's going to have to say red 4 or red 5, you know, for the thing. And I'm very picky about not using what's not on your recipe. So if you're not sure, because if I have to buy, you know, chocolate chips, then they're laid out, and you ask, is this what's mine? And I know what's on their things, but you know, that they can ask me when they're gathering their stuff, but how to do their lab, they should ask me that on the first day, you know, about anything that they don't understand. That's what I try my dead level best, is to teach them how to read a recipe. I mean, that's what I say. People think I'm nuts because I will sit and read a recipe book, you know, like just looking over stuff, finding stuff that I think might be. And I never use anything that has a lot of ingredients, never. And if they're picking out a recipe to use when they do get a choice, I limit their ingredients. They cannot have something with 14 ingredients. Not happening. We're not going there kind of thing, because we're on the tail end. Yeah. Okay,
On my labs, I try to find a little short video the day before. We'll try to do a little short video. We'll try to go over the recipe. They don't get to keep things in their kitchen. If it's cold stuff, it'll stay in the refrigerator. Their dry goods will be back there. And they'll have to have a runner come and get it. Like, they'll have to come back there and measure out. They'll have to come back there and get so much butter, so much milk or whatever. So that I do. One thing that when I first started teaching foods, I realized someone will be like, oh, I don't like onions, or oh, I don't like mushrooms, or I'm allergic to mushrooms. No, you're not. So at the beginning, this is a tip. At the beginning of my school classroom, I have a little information sheet, and if I don't have to have a doctor's note, I just have to have mom say, you know, Johnny Sue is allergic to mushrooms. Please don't make her eat them. And that's fine. But if you don't have that thing that says you're allergic, you don't get to opt out on that. Every once in a while, if it's something crazy, I might say, you know, okay, we did tofu. We did fried tofu mushroom. You know, it was an acquired taste, and I knew that going into it. I let them choose. And you wouldn't believe when you let someone say, okay, we're making this, you don't have to eat it. They'll be like, I want to eat that. When I did kimchi, I had to suck that one up. I was scared to death when I opened the jar up, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. So I was like, I have to, or the kids won't do it. So I ate it. And, you know, some people really like it. That was a taste test that but the kids were troopers. But that was one thing. If you say, if you are allergic, and mom, dad, grandma, Franny, Grandpa Joe writes down that you're allergic on this, you won't have to put that in your recipe. Other than that, you're going to have to put it in your recipe, unless you want to decide differently, you know, as a teacher. They always have to try it. They always just have to try one little spoonful of it. And then they don't have to eat it. If they want to give it away to a friend in class, that's fine. I did have to say, you know, please don't give it, you know, sometimes they leave with it, you know, on a paper plate inside a Ziploc bag. I said, if you're going to give it to someone, make sure that they at least eat it. I don't want to find candied apples. That was one I found one time across the thing, because I told them, you know, if you throw it on the ground, that means that we're cooking too much and we won't get to cook. So that kind of like did away with that. So that's kind of one of the things I do with labs. Vicki's going to do.
We have one more lab for you. And I just wanted to say, like, for my, you know, how she does her grade sheet, the next day after our labs, we have an evaluation kind of thing. And, you know, they score, you know, what they think they get. And then, of course, I give them, you know, what they're going to get in their grade book. But like I said earlier, when I was going through my labs, I asked the one question, would you serve this? You know, because being a caterer, you know, I always fall back on, you know, because the kids are really curious about my catering business, you know, because if I have a big event on the weekend before, I come in and share it with them, you know, like, well, I've done weddings for 400, 500, 600 people, and I share this with them, and they're really inquisitive as to, oh my gosh, Miss Harris, how do you cook for 600 people? How do you do this? How do you do that? And some days I might spend, you know, 30 minutes of my period talking about, you know, how we do it, and the, you know, the business, the nature of the business, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I might have wasted a day that I should have had.
but it's a teaching moment that I use. And because, you know, we have had several kids from Perryville go to culinary school. So, and I'm very happy about that. But I asked my kids, would you serve this to anybody else? Would you have put your name on this? And like I said, some will say, no, I would have served it to the trash can because ours tasted. One of the biggest mistakes I have found that my kids make is the difference between tablespoon and teaspoon. Whether it's the big T, the little t, or spelled out tablespoon or spelled out teaspoon. They mess up their cookies. It was, you know, 1 teaspoon of salt. What did they put in there? 1 tablespoon of salt. That makes a big difference. Of course, it's a teaching moment, but bless their hearts, they don't get it. They won't eat their cookies. But again, like Christina says, somebody will share and give them one of theirs. The last thing we're going to do for you today is I don't know if y'all do, they're fun. They're like the cakes in a mug. I'll have to get my glasses on here so I can read my little things. There again, you would think I could do this in a 1 period time, but therefore I cannot because they can't get this measured and the microwave used in 30 minutes. So everybody has to measure out. They're going to have my little ramekins, and we have this. So you measure out your flour, which it takes 4 teaspoons of flour. Measure that off. And then, you know, when we're doing this, I'm like, it's 4 teaspoons. Unless it says heaping teaspoons, you know, like you do when you make your no-bake cookies, you know, it says 4 heaping teaspoons. And then you need 2 tablespoons of sugar. So you measure this out. Okay. Then you need a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. So then you teach them, well, you don't have to measure that because look, it's already got your little thing on here. So, and I always try to demonstrate for my kids. I really do, because you know, action speaks louder than words when it comes to that. And then you need 4 tablespoons of milk. Oh, Christina, I need my milk. Can you get Christina's gonna be my milk? Okay. Now, then the directions tell you to put all your dry ingredients into your little bowl, like into this. Okay. To get it all measured out, put it into your bowl, and it takes, you know, they get to use their wire whisk. And they stir this all up together. And then it tells you to put in 4 tablespoons. Now, here again, like I said, measuring over your thing. Do not measure over this cup. You know what I tell them? You know, measure it over this. You need 4 tablespoons of milk because you're not always steady Eddie, is what I tell them. So 4 tablespoons of milk. Make sure it's right. 4 tablespoons of milk. That in there, and then we need 1.5 tablespoons of oil. And yes, this is not Crisco oil, but the dollar store a while ago did not have any Crisco oil. So I'll probably need this with Christina. All right, 1.5 tablespoons of oil. Then you need 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Okay, then it says to put some funfetti sprinkles in there. And so, oh, my kids love to do this kind of stuff. So pink's my favorite color. Can you tell? So I'm going to put a tablespoon of this. I don't think it would hurt if you over measured. My kids love this. Pour it in there. Then you just take, and then you just stir it up, looking like this. Now, tips, you just stir it until it's mixed. Don't over mix it. Kids want to mix it till it's like, you know, soup. But you just want your dry ingredients mixed together. And then you don't want to over microwave. I've already practiced on this, so 1 minute does perfect. So you put it in there, do it for 1 minute. I also brought some icing to put on here. Now I keep, I don't know if any of y'all do, but I go to Sam's and buy their tub of icing, that buttercream icing, that's the big tub, so we can color it and we do all kinds of things with it. I keep that in my kitchen, and we can use that. And then they can put a little and I don't usually use an icing bag. I usually have a paper. I usually have plastic so they can chunk it. And then with this, I don't know, I may just do all the icing myself so that not everybody has to touch the icing bag. As before, you know, they all squirt their own little thing on it, but probably not going to do that this year. I'll just do the squirting.
for them. 15 seconds, we'll be done. Let's see. The kids really like this. Now, here's another option I do. That you can use my mug, but if, like I said, it's before lunch. If they want to take it out, my mug, nothing leaves my kitchens, nothing leaves my classroom, not anything. And so if you want, look at that, how cute that is. Precious. You can let it cool a little bit, and then we'll put icing on it. But I'll go ahead and show you. I usually just pipe their icing on there like this, and then we get our little sprinkles. We put a few more sprinkles on there. And then if you let it cool, then your icing's not going to melt like this one did. But other than that, they like it. They can bring their own mug, so they can take it out with me, because none of Miss Harris's mugs leave the room. Okay, Christina, you got anything? Or does anyone have any questions on this or comments? We hope we don't, this, I'm gonna be honest with you, ladies, this is my first Zoom. I've never done Zoom or watched a Zoom before, so I'm kind of new. I think she's done several Zoom or watched them, but this is my first one. So we hope we helped you. We don't know. Some of y'all probably taught longer than we have a lot more, tricks to do than we do. But this is just how we do it. We do a lot of things together. I just would wish that I had her facilities. That would make me a happy camper.
Victoria can show.
She can show you all the how big her room is.
Yeah, this is my classroom. And I've kind of got it set up for COVID right now. I've measured out. Kids will go here and there. There's my sewing area.
She has her own bathrooms.
Yes,
Makes it nice.
I am blessed by that. I have this huge
Display window.
this closet. There's like a huge display window. When they were building my room, I asked for a display window, and I had envisioned like they put like their muffins in there or their cookies or something as the other kids were walking by. But no, I got like a storefront display window, which is
Can we
good
pull that
for
back and show? Is there anything in there?
yes, stuff right now.
Okay.
Right now it's for the seniors, so it's just black in there. But it's really good for FCCLA. In the community, we do a lot of like themes, and actually the Chamber of Commerce actually contacted us, and we go down and do a couple windows a year for the Chamber of Commerce, which you get to put this FCCLA or whatever. So that's kind of nice. But I have this huge place. This is where they usually keep their notebooks. Now this year they won't do that. They will take their notebooks with them and they'll keep them there. There's my bathrooms.
Big.
I have a huge storage closet. Just don't look at it right now because it's
Don't judge it.
well, between homecomings and proms and I'm cleaning it as we speak, sort of. But anyways, I'm a little bit of a hoarder because usually they'll say, and y'all are too. Oh, does Miss So-and-so have a plastic picture? Well, yeah. And that's one thing I can say. It's hard for me not to let people borrow things, and I do, and then I'm like, go to find it, and I can't find it. Like, I'm really missing some 3 bushes right now. But that kind of picture over there. No patience to the bag. We have a mixer, we have the industrial.
3 compartments.
Well, I say I do. There you go. I have a huge pantry. There's my baby refrigerator. And then this is where I usually keep things like chocolate chips and things like that I don't want kids. And I have a block. Now I have to get better on that. I don't want kids to get. And a laundry room.
Did you fix it? No. The form isn't active.
Oh,
Not sending responses.
yeah, I don't know why that was clicked
Okay.
on. Let me send it out.
So if anybody has, I think now we're at the point that if anybody has questions, Vicki and I can if anybody has an idea of something that they want us to do next time, I know that our hint for next time, we've kind of got some things picked out. You know, we're going to do do wars with our classes, do spaghetti or pasta wars, hamburger wars, cupcake wars. So we're going to cover all those. But if anybody has any questions, let us know.
Before we answer any more questions, I wanted to let everyone know that I posted the Google form that you need to complete for P credit, and I apologize that I had it closed to begin with. It should be open now. Is everyone getting into the document?
Okay, ladies, we had a couple more questions.
Okay.
How long? Somebody wanted to know how long the tub of icing lasts from Sam's. Also, what do you do about boys who kind of have shaggy hair, but they can't quite get it in a ponytail? Do you have them wear a hairnet? Do you have them wear a hat? And also, where did you get the cute aprons?
Oh, okay. Actually, these were one of my kids that did Star Events, I think, maybe. I got them at Walmart. The shaggy hair, we all know this was the year of the mullet, especially at Nemo. I had, some of my favorite, you're not supposed to have favorite, but some of my favorites had mullets. So the school rule is that you cannot wear your cap. But my rule in here is if you cannot get your hair in a ponytail and it's long hair, you can wear your cap. And my principal is okay with that. The first couple of times he had come in, and now I have a new one, they were kind of like eyebrow raised, and I'm like, I just explained it because my thing is hair.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
On the icing from Sam's, I'll be honest with you, I'm still using it. I bought it in probably October, November, and when we had to go home in March, I didn't want to just let it sit in my room, so I went and got it, and my grandkids have had a really good time with it this summer.
For me, at one of the things that we do here at Nemo is, and we can't do it this year because the fair's canceled, we do a lot of entries in the fair. So I buy it then, and they use it. So if they have, we only use it at that time, and then I buy smaller amounts later.
Now, I will say this. How many did you have last year?
We do at the fair. We do. We can salsa. We can jelly. We do a scrapbook.
The rocks.
Oh yeah, we do
paint
rocks. We do.
But they make cakes.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they make a lot of baked goods and entered in the fair. And last year they had to build a special display thing for all her kids because would you have like 100 cakes?
I take a bus.
Yeah.
That's one of
But
their
she had
rules.
like almost 100 just baked items to put into the fair.
And so that first 2 weeks of school, I kind of go home and I'm like, oh, no, I'm gonna do this next year. So, and now this year I don't get to, and I'm kind of bummed about it, but it is what it is. We'll figure it out. But they expect when the first week of school, they start talking about what they're gonna do, and they pick out what kind of decorated cake they want, what kind of decorated cupcakes they're gonna do, and they make their lists. And oh yeah, that was one thing we forgot about how we buy our groceries.
Oh, yeah, we did forget that.
Mine is different than hers. I live 45, 50 minutes from here in the middle of National Forest, so when I go home, I'm home. I either have to buy groceries after school. I've tried the online, and it works great. I'm just a little old, so it took me a little while to figure it out, but I think I'm going to have a kid help me, and then it'll be better. So I'm blessed that my prep is with my lunch, so I can 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back, and then flying around Walmart. I wish it was closer. I am blessed that we do have Dollar General over here, so if I run out of vanilla, I can run over there and get it. But now she does hers. And I just figure out how much I need, and I base it off of that. I don't have kids make me a grocery list unless it's something particular, like they're making a certain type of of cake or a certain kind of, awards, and that's what we'll cover that next time.
I I get a purchase order each month. I send in a request for September food. And so they say, how much you think you'll spend? I always estimate on the high side $500. And sometimes I might not spend but $200, but it doesn't matter. If I spent $700, I'd still be okay. And so I have one purchase order for each month. And then when I need the Walmart card, I just make up my list, give it over there and say I need a Walmart card. She takes my list and then I go shopping. Sometimes I'll shop after school or after my bus route because I have a commercial refrigerator at my house in my garage. But if it's a lot, I'm up at Walmart at 5:15 in the morning shopping before I get on my bus route. And then I run my bus route and then I'll come to school with it and go get my kids. And then they take it all out of my car and take it into my kitchens and they'll put it all up for me.
And
So
if I don't buy mine during the day, if I can't, I have to either go on Sunday and then I have my kids help me unload, my biological children help me unload my stuff and put it up, but it takes a long time.
it does
I try
take a
to
long
do it
time.
once a week, so if I plan 2 or 3 labs, I have to buy all of them. Or if I have to go after school, it'll be after my bus route. So if I get back here at like 4:15, go to town, that's 5, you grocery shop till 6, then you get back and unload at 7, and I don't get home till 8. And I try to avoid that as much as I have to do it, maybe 2 or 3 times a month, but I try to avoid it. No,
But I'm an early morning, so I can get in Walmart at 5:15, 5:30, like bam, I'll be done and out the door. As long as I've left Marlton by 6:20, I can make my bus route. It's fine.
my bus route starts at 6:40, and I'm in the barn at 4 o'clock milking goats, so I can't go in the morning times. Any other questions?
We just want you to know how much we have enjoyed watching it. I mean, y'all are just awesome, and the comments on here are just awesome.
I'm not gonna lie, we
Just,
sweated over this.
you know what?
We sweated over this. Especially
I know,
last time when
but
we were online and like 105 people, really?
well, not everybody's on. I mean, like we had some people sign up and they just want to watch, later. But I mean, we have just enjoyed watching y'all this morning.
We're
Yes.
kind of like Mutt and Jeff. We're like the odd couple. I mean, we've been friends for a long time, but we're
everybody is yes, somebody just said I'll tune into your cooking show every week, and we've been they need a cooking show. Please share your resources with us so we can get everything out to the teachers, your recipes, copy of lab sheets, lesson ideas from where you teach all your stuff. If you've got stuff in a Google folder that you can share it with us, and then we'll send it out to everybody. I know somebody was wanting to know about how you set up notebooks and things like that. And then somebody asked,
We'll just take a picture.
I have it.
Yeah,
Scan
scan it. Yeah, and put it in.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna borrow her notebook idea for next year. I'm probably gonna put that in my classes.
And I'll just be honest, I hate to grade. That's one thing that, I mean, I know you're supposed to be a teacher, you're supposed to love to grade, but I've taught elementary too, so I literally hate to grade. So everything's in the notebook, then it's like in order, and then, it's better that way. When I taught math and science, I had to have everything, together, so kind of brought it over.
there's one more. Okay, notebook, recipes, how you set up your labs, any tips you have on, you grocery shopping, you're measuring, anything. I think.
Well, I'll give you
that's about got it.
I might grocery shop.
Fair money. If your students win at the fair, do they keep that money or does it go into FCCLA?
Yeah, no, it goes into FCCLA because it comes out of it. I buy everything. Like I buy it from the cans to everything, and they're okay with that because they don't have to purchase anything. Like when they make their I wish I had my pictures of my decorated cakes. They get to pick out their decorated cake, and if they need little miniature marshmallows and stick pretzels. I buy all that. That's the one grocery trip I hate. But that goes back into FCCLA because they know we do a lot. We do a Veterans Day program, and it costs like $500. So that kind of helps, pay. Some kids won't make it, and they get grades for those things. If they get a blue, red, or third place, they get grades according to that. So they try a little harder. They get the day that we take our stuff down. I take a school bus. It's not mandatory. If you don't want to go, you don't have to. So we figure it out how to get your stuff there. So we take a bus down there. We drop off all our stuff, and it's been years and years of tweaking it because the first year it was like chaotic, and then it gets better each year. But thank God for our extension homemakers. So I will say that the extension office is great.
Do y'all do a booth? We do a booth.
Yeah, we do a booth.
We do a booth.
We do a booth, and the next day, the day that they actually judge, I take a group of kids back down there, and they help to put the ribbons on and help. They don't actually judge, but they're like more of the runners. So we do that, and we compete in the state fair. That was a little much, but
I've never done that. I might step out of my comfort zone if they have a state fair next year.
Yeah, it'll be next year.
Yeah, I might step out of my comfort zone.
The biggest tip I can tell you is your extension office, your fax extension ladies in there, and even your 4-H program. They have a multitude of lessons, and they will come out and help you, and they will come out and teach, and that's just a resource. That's a phenomenal resource.